Arizona has the third highest number of missing and murdered indigenous women and girls in the United States. That's according to a 2017 study from the Urban Indian Health Institute. Earlier this month, the state's House of Representatives unanimously voted in favor of a bill that would establish a task force focused on this plight. The group would be tasked with looking into how Arizona can reduce or end the violence against indigenous women altogether. The bill reached the state Senate and faced its first committee vote Wednesday morning. Jennifer Germain is a Democratic state representative for Arizona's 18th district. She sponsored the bill. Jennifer, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. As we mentioned earlier, the bill faced its first committee vote in the Senate Wednesday. How did that go, and what comes next?
Yeah, we passed this morning unanimously through the Senate Health and Human Services Committee, and next we will go to the full floor of the Senate for a vote.
So, Jennifer, you must have some insight into why indigenous women and girls in particular seem to be suffering this fate at a higher rate than other groups of women. Why is that?
In Arizona, our indigenous women have about an 85% chance of being assaulted at some point in their lifetime. It's a much higher rate than other ethnic groups. Part of the problem we're having is we don't really have true hard data on what's happening in Arizona. Some of our law enforcement agencies aren't tracking this data at all, and we're having cross-jurisdictional issues where law enforcement agencies in cities are not talking to counties and not talking to tribal nations. So that's one of the big goals of our task force, is to get everybody tracking the same data and talking to each other.
And of course, this has been a problem not just in Arizona, but in other large areas of the U.S. Why do you think it's getting attention now?
I know in Arizona it's getting attention because I have a platform to give it attention. I myself am descendant of the White Earth Nation. And when former Representative Benali, who first started this work 3 years ago, decided not to run again, she asked if I would carry it forward. And I'm continuing her legacy and continuing to shed light on this topic here in Arizona.
So again, as we said, you sponsored this bill, and it sounds like this issue is personal for you. Is that true?
Yeah, it's personal for every person who's descendant of an indigenous nation. This is something that's been happening in our culture for centuries, and the mainstream media really hasn't paid attention to it. Just our Indian Country Today newspaper and local blogs. But so, now we're able to get national attention, and it's helping to shed light on the subject.
It's certainly wonderful that you're doing this. Tell us a little bit more about how the bill got started and what the reaction has been from the community there.
Yeah, it started very organically. The Navajo Nation has been looking at this for several years, and the Hopi Nation have been looking at this for several years, and really trying to coalesce around the issues that are happening within their independent tribal communities. One of the big issues is that the law enforcement agencies and the support groups that help survivors and help family members have not been talking to each other. So that's what we're trying to do at the state level, is bring everybody to the same table, get everybody working towards the same goals, so that we can begin to see the patterns of what's happening in our indigenous communities and begin to find solutions.
So are you saying there's been a little bit of a lack of communication between law enforcement and perhaps, leaders on reservations? Has all of that have those channels of communication been opened?
They're starting to open now, and with the governor's signature, hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll be able to open them fully.
And the study was conducted by the Urban Indian Health Institute that we mentioned earlier. It found cases in 71 cities there in Arizona. That's a huge problem. What would this bill, what kind of impact could this bill have across Arizona?
Well, Arizona in total has 91 cities and towns. So to find this kind of problem in 71 of our cities is 80% of our cities. And that's not even counting the rural areas and the tribal communities. We have 22 independent sovereign tribal nations within Arizona's borders. Really, our bill is really looking to ease those communication lines and get everybody looking at the same data sets, get everybody looking towards the same aspects of domestic violence, human trafficking, trying to figure out exactly what's happening with our women and girls and why they're going missing at such high rates.
And then are you hopeful that this could reverberate beyond Arizona's borders?
I'm extremely hopeful, and I'm extremely grateful to Congressman Ruben Gallego from Arizona District 7, who is leading the charge in Congress, and he's working very, very closely with Congresswoman Holland from New Mexico. And I think last week they held a congressional hearing on this topic for the very first time.
Representative Jennifer Germain, thank you so much, and good luck on your bill. You're doing wonderful work. Thank you.
Much.